I've got a weird story for you today. Today I want to tell you about an herb that saved my cat's life. I know that might sound weird, herbs for cats, but I've got quite the story for you. So right before Thanksgiving last year, our little cat got sick. My cat's 12 years old. Her name's Penelope, and she developed a tumor. And her behavior changed, and it was just very obvious that Penelope was sick. So we took her to the vet, who examined her, did blood work, did x-rays, and they told us that Penelope had cancer. She had mammary cancer, and it was very advanced. According to the x-rays, it had already spread. It was all over the cat's body, from her brain to her lungs to her liver. Her heart was even swollen and had fluid around it. And at that point, the vet was like, this cat has a week left max. Like, she's actively on her way out. And of course, we were so devastated, but no one more than my little girl. My daughter loves this cat. This cat was a gift to my daughter, Allie, and this has been her best friend. And my daughter, Allie, is now an adult. She's 20. But she's had this cat since she was a teeny tiny little girl, and so this was devastating news. So we came home, and essentially the vet was like, you can either take her home and just let her have the end of her life, on her own time, or we could put her down there at the vet. Well, my daughter was not prepared for that at the moment, so we took her home. And as a farm, we have goats and lots of animals, and so we have a vet that comes out here, and we thought we'll get that vet to come out and we'll handle it at home. But when we got home, I just had like this nagging feeling like maybe I should try to help the cat. Like, Penelope had not been acting sick for that long, but her symptoms like rapidly escalated. This tumor had grown really quickly. And, I'm an herbalist, but I've never treated animals. Now, I do like a parasite cleanse for my goats and my chickens. Like, I will treat my farm animals with herbs, but I've never attempted to actually take a sick animal with confirmed cancer and try to help it get better. I've never even really tried to treat cancer in a human with herbs, and so I was like, I don't know. But that day, as my daughter was devastated and I knew we were facing a goodbye with Penelope, I just thought, I'm going to give it a try. And so I went to my herb shelf and I was like, what do I even pick? Like, where do I even begin with this? And I want to show you the plant that I chose first. This is Echinacea, also known as purple coneflower. And this is the first plant that I decided to try with Penelope. So Echinacea can help with a ton of different things, but it is mostly known for being great for the immune system, and specifically for bacterial infections. And so I decided to offer Penelope some Echinacea, and I had some of these flowers that I had already harvested, like we're doing today, and I pull the leaves off. I'll show you in a little bit, and we'll dry these, and then I store them in a mason jar, and we'll use it for teas or to make tinctures. And so I took my dried Echinacea flowers, and I laid just a tiny little handful of them on a plate, and I laid it in front of the cat where I would normally feed her, and I just offered it to her. And she approached it, and she started to smell the dried Echinacea. And she kind of paused, she kind of hesitated, and then this cat, you guys, went face first into this Echinacea. She was just like inhaling it, almost huffing it, like she realized it had something she needed. And I was like, this is wild. I've never seen a cat this interested in an herb. So I took that as some encouragement to keep going. And so I started giving her kind of free access to Echinacea, and I would replace the Echinacea in her little plate every day. And she has a little cat tower. If you have a cat, maybe your cat has one of those towers they climb on. I would actually take that dried Echinacea and I would spread it on her cat tower where she would scratch and where she would lay. So she was constantly interacting with this herb, which is specifically helping with bacterial illnesses. And so fast forward a bit, I also offered her a few other herbs, and we'll get into some of those in future videos, but I'll tell you, her favorites were Echinacea, Tulsi, and chamomile. Chamomile seemed to help with pain. Tulsi and Echinacea, though, were the two that she was most drawn to, but specifically Echinacea. And so the vet had told us that Penelope had less than a week left to live. It was approaching Thanksgiving. I'm giving her herbs, which she seems to be really jazzed up about. She's into it. She's sniffing the herbs. And then this crazy thing happened, y'all. Thanksgiving came and went, and Penelope was still with us. And then it started to get close to Christmas, and I'm still giving her herbs, and she's still with us. We get to New Year's, Valentine's Day, Easter, and Penelope is not only still with us, but she seems like her old self, and she's energetic, and she's thriving. She's eating, she's drinking, she's acting like our normal little cat. Even though, at this point, she's supposed to have been long gone from cancer. And the weirdest thing of all is those mammary tumors on her seem to be shrinking. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you what I experienced with my own little cat. And it looked like those lumps all over her underside, on her belly and her chest area, it looked like they were literally getting smaller. And so we continued every day. Echinacea, Echinacea, Echinacea. I would offer Tulsi if she wanted that. Chamomile if she seemed like she was uncomfortable. If I noticed she was just not acting like her normal self. Chamomile seemed to be what she wanted if she was in pain. And chamomile would stop the pain. Now remember, she's only getting the benefit of these herbs by breathing them in through scent. She's not eating them. We're not putting them in her food. I tried that. She wasn't interested. It's only that she is laying on top of them, rolling in them, smelling them, scratching at them. Well, now I have a new part of this story for you. So it is currently August 1st. And last month, what was left of that tumor on Penelope's abdomen ruptured. And she had a lot of bleeding, and it left a wound. And when this happened, I'll be honest, like, I really thought this is it. Like, Penelope has kind of come to her final hour, because she seemed to be, like, in a lot of pain. And I thought, like, the vet told us, like, this cat needed to be, we needed to let her go almost a year ago at this point. And so I was like, I talked to Allie, and I was like, I know that you love your cat, and we've done everything we can do for her, but I think it's time to make the call, because this tumor has ruptured. There's nothing more I can do for her. The vet can't do anything for her. Like, I think we just need to let her go. And so Allie agreed at this point. Like, it looked really bad where that tumor had ruptured. And so we called the farm vet who comes out to help with our big animals. And I called her, and I said, listen, this is the situation. And she was like, let me come out. We'll do it at home. And we were going to just like let her go in a very gentle, natural way here at home. So the vet arrives, and we're all braced for the worst. If you've gone through this, it's like losing a member of your family. It's awful. And I was brokenhearted, not so much about Penny, but I was so brokenhearted for my daughter Allie, who'd had this cat since she was a little girl. And it just felt like the end of an era. Like, this was kind of the last childhood pet for my kids. And so the vet arrives, meet her in the driveway, and I tell her the situation. And, I'm like, I think this is it. And the vet's like, yeah, like, we're probably going to need to do this today. Like, sounds like this is bad. So we go inside, and Allie's holding her cat, and the vet comes in, and she was like, this doesn't look like a cat with mammary cancer. And she was like, do you have those x-rays? And I was like, yeah. So we show her the x-rays, and she was like, oh yes. She was like, the cat I'm looking at does not match the x-rays I'm looking at. She was like, how long ago was this? And I said, it was last Thanksgiving. At this point, it's, that was in June. So it had been like 6-7 months. And she was like, what are you doing for her? She was like, because the cat on the x-ray was like terminal. And this cat I'm looking at, she was like, y'all are going to think I'm crazy, but I don't think we need to put her down. I think we can help her. I was like, are you kidding me, Dr. Claire? Like, you really think we can still save this cat? And she was like, yeah. She was like, the rupture kind of drained it. And she was like, and now she just has like a little pocket of infection we need to treat. And so she was like, let's give her a round of antibiotics. We've never given this cat a round of antibiotics. We've only given her herbs. And so I was like, okay, let's try it. And Penelope got another life. I'm telling you, that cat does not have 9 lives. She has like 15. This cat has survived everything. So we followed Dr. Claire's plan, and she was like, I want to know what you're doing to treat this cat, because I have never seen a cat live longer than a few months with mammary cancer. And so I showed her. I was like, I'm giving her free choice of herbs. Like, I went by what she chose, and the herbs that she chose were Echinacea, purple coneflower, chamomile, and tulsi. And I was like, and I just give them to her every day. And the vet was like, dude, I think you've discovered something like really impactful. And I was like, now listen, I'm just a gardener. Like, I'm not trying to go on and make waves. And she was like, no. She was like, I want your protocol, because the next time I have a patient, a little cat that has this cancer, I want to treat it like you treated it, and let's see if this works a second time. And I was like, okay. I said, so the next time you get a patient, you call me and I'll give you the herbs and you give them to the pet owner and we'll try it. So we'll see what happens. I will come back and update you if Dr. Claire gets a little cat that needs my herbs and we test it. But for now, to update you on Penny, or Penelope, we call her Penny for short. She did the course of antibiotics. We gave her pain medicine for 1 week. The pain medicine seemed to help her sleep better. And so we decided to keep that with her for a few more weeks. But she's finished with the antibiotic. Where that tumor had ruptured, it has healed. And it looks so much better. But she's still taking Echinacea. And what's so interesting is yesterday I was out here harvesting some of this. And I was taking it in to lay it out to dry or put in the freeze dryer. And Penny must have like smelled this from another room. I was in the kitchen and she comes running into the kitchen and she jumped up on the counter, which she's not allowed to do. But before I could even fuss at her, I noticed she was going straight to my purple coneflowers, to my Echinacea, and she was inhaling them and breathing them in. This was my cat's saving grace. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a vet. I'm not giving you advice here. I'm not even telling you to use herbs for your pets. I'm just telling you that for my pet, this totally worked. And imagine if it's that powerful for one of our animals, imagine the effect that Echinacea might have on our human bodies too. So purple coneflower is an herb that heals, and it's an herb that you want to have in your garden. It's best known for helping cold and flu. It's an immune boost agent. You don't want to take this one if you have an autoimmune disease, truly, because it can flare it up. This is going to wake your immune system up to fight whatever's happening. And if your immune system is already awake and fighting because you have something autoimmune going on, this might actually make it worse. And because this is an immune modulator, you don't want to take Echinacea all the time. So this is a short-term herb that you would use in a situation for like illness. It's really good for any kind of bacterial infection. Truthfully, this is like the gold standard in my home. If somebody gets sick, like if there's a cold and it's lingering and it won't go away and it turns into like a sinus infection or an ear infection, we will take Echinacea. And I don't mean like one little dose. We will go hardcore with this. So I would take like an Echinacea tincture 4 to 5 times a day until the symptoms went away. Or I would drink Echinacea tea every 2 to 3 hours. Or I would do both. You can even layer them on top. But this one's a powerful herb, and it's so pretty too. Like, it's just a beautiful one to grow. When the flowers first start coming in, this is what they look like. The center's a little more flat. You've got these beautiful pink leaves. But then as it matures, they'll look more like this. And this is why they call it a coneflower. The middle of it looks like a cone. Now there's multiple kinds of echinacea you can get. This is Echinacea purpurea, or purple coneflower. You can also get Echinacea angustifolia. I think I'm saying that right. I grow that as well, but I don't like it as much medicinally. I don't find that it has the same effect as quickly or as powerfully. It's still a pretty flower, and it still does have some benefit, but as far as for bacterial, this is by far my favorite. Now, as far as what part of the plant to use, you can use the entire plant. Leaves, stems, flowers, roots. Personally, I don't find that the leaves do a whole lot. I will include leaves if I'm doing a whole plant tincture, but if I'm making tea, I'm using the petals of the flowers. That is the part that I think really just packs a punch medicinally. So when I'm telling you that I'm giving Penelope purple coneflower, I'm actually just giving her dried purple coneflower petals. So they make a really delicious tea. Even if you're not a tea drinker, Echinacea tea is a really good one to start with to kind of learn to love tea. And it's a great one to take if you feel like you're getting sick, or if you've got a cold or any sort of bacterial kind of infection. Echinacea. So this is the herb that saved my cat's life. And it's an herb that I will always grow now in my garden because I truly believe it's worth it. And it's an herb that I hope you'll grow too. And now if you're interested in learning more about herbs and you're just like a little unsure where to start, I want to invite you to click below. I have created an ebook for you called The Old Ways. And in this book, I walk you through beginner herbalism. We'll talk about how to make a tea, how to make a tincture, how to make a salve. You'll get some recipes to get you started. I'll highlight for you some of my favorite herbs to know and grow. All that information is waiting on you, and I put it on sale before I post this video so you can snag it at a discount. So it's linked below. Check it out. And yeah, grow some echinacea, you guys. This is a plant you don't want to miss.